Hello, welcome to the Daily Fantasy Flex podcast, the NFL edition. I am your host, Bryan Mears. As always, I am joined by fellow FantasyLabs guys, Matthew Freedman and Peter Jennings, aka CSU Ram 88. It is week 14. We're plugging along here, and guest this week is Davis Mattek, who is a DFS writer for, I feel like, all the sites at certain points. I think I remember first reading you over at RotoViz. Davis, and I'm not sure if you remember this, but I think you were one of the very first Fantasy Lab podcast guests like 3 years ago. So great to have you back on. I know we had you on last year, but great to have you back on while I'm hosting. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I love doing this podcast. I absolutely wiped the floor with CSU, and I believe it was Bales, but I don't remember who it was in the prop game when we did. I might have been Freedman when we did the prop games last year. I went undefeated in my appearance last year, so I'm hoping I can carry that on this week.
That doesn't sound factually accurate. I'm gonna have to do some fact checking on that.
No, I'm pretty sure it was.
I smashed.
Man, that's incredible.
It wasn't hard
Flashbacks.
to beat and or this year. So
now, Pete, you're doing well. We'll get to the props. I'll give you guys some records once we get there. But Pete, you're doing better. You're coming on strong at the end of the year. Friedman is self-destructing. It's impressive.
All over the place.
Yeah.
Freedman, I just like that you've amped up the volume. That's all that matters, bud.
Yeah.
It's painful.
All right, let's get into the meat of the show. As always, we start with a segment called Real or Fake. I go around the board here and ask these guys to give me one real trend. It could be from last week in week 13, or it could be from the whole year that will continue. Then maybe one fake trend. Freeman, why don't you kick us off?
All right. Well, I'm going to get us started right by giving a kicker hot take because this slate deserves it. Greg Zuerlein is having the greatest kicking season of all time, and almost no one is talking about it. He's literally breaking the salary scale for kickers at FanDuel. Through the first 12 games of the season, he has an NFL record, 36 field goals. The second highest mark in NFL history is 32. So he is just absolutely crushing, both in terms of the number of attempts and the rate at which he is converting those attempts. And I think because of the Rams' style of play, both on offense and defense, it's conducive to the kicking game. Like, they don't mind getting in field goal range and then just letting him bomb 40 and 50 yarders. Like, that's kind of what they're built to do. And I mentioned this in my forward pass piece on Monday, but Legatron has a 6.07 plus minus on the season. Up to this point in the history of our database, the highest mark for a season that any kicker has ever had is 2.99. So he's like more than doubling the productivity that we've seen on a salary-based scale from any other kicker for the course of the season in history. So, I mean, I guess what I'm about to say is like ridiculous, but I'm already talking about a kicker. So like we're already in the realm of the ridiculous. But like outside of Alvin Kamara, no fantasy player relative to his peers this season has provided like the consistency and the ceiling of Greg Zuerlein. So like, I don't know, now I just talked about him, he's probably going to go like 0 for 5 on field goals this week. But like, I feel like it's just such like an inefficient league. Like, I mean, I know no one ever wants to pay up for kickers, but he is having just a remarkable season, even when you were adjusting for salary. So I'm saying like Greg Zuerlein, like NFL history and just like DFS as a play, like very real. Fake, my Fantasy Pros ranking career, specifically my performance from weeks 9 to 12 when I was just running so hot. Last week, so we don't have the final rankings for week 13 yet, but they had to be submitted Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, and I took a big shot based on the injury news that we had on Antonio Brown that he either would not play or that when he would play, he would be significantly hobbled, and that didn't work out. So, again, we don't have the rankings in yet, but I was number 2, looking potentially to take a shot at number 1 with a leverage play there. So, Pete, I think our prop bet is going to get a lot more interesting for the final 3 weeks here because I don't think that worked out.
I think your favorite, bud. Big-time favorite.
We'll see. It's I gave myself a big kick in the balls there, so we'll have to see.
Well, I like the courage, just like the courage you have on the props this year, firing them out there. It's good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll get to that for sure. Perfect. It's starting with a 3-minute rant on kicker. What else would we do? Davis, what are some trends that are standing out to you?
Well, the first trend that I wanted to mention is the Chiefs offense. They don't run anymore, and they don't want to. And that's a trend that's going to continue for the rest of the season. I think that whatever kind of lightning in the bottle they had with Hunt early in the year, they're just not willing to give him the ball enough to try and find that again. You have to go all the way back to week 8 against Denver to find the last time he really functioned as like the lead back in the offense. And he was really bad in that game against Denver. Like there's this thing that we do in daily fantasy where like, we kind of try and be too sharp, and like people who are like really loading up on Hunt like the last 3 weeks were really just trying to be too sharp in being like, well, all the volume's there. He's still playing. He's still getting some of the passing down work. And yeah, like there definitely is some value in analyzing things further other than being like, wow, this guy does not have a very good yards per carry. But I kind of think it's a situation where you look at the offense and you look at the play calling and you see that it's no longer designed for Hunt to be like the third best running back in fantasy. And also like his value was he had, 3 touchdowns over 45 yards in those first 3 weeks of the season. And like, if you're not Alvin Kamara, that's probably not going to continue happening. I'm not going to say anything bad about Alvin Kamara though. I don't want people tweeting at me like doubting like the god that is Alvin Kamara, especially now that Ingram's banged up. But yeah, like I think that some people might be tempted to go back to Hunt this week at 6,500 against Oakland, even in cash games. Like, I'm not going to argue against anyone who wants to have 10% exposure to him in tournaments or whatever. But like the leverage there for me is like just load up on Alex, load up on Travis Kelce. Like I'm not interested really in Hunt.
Yeah, great point. The Chiefs continue to be one of the more interesting stories of the year for sure with their offense. Pete, close us out here. What are some trends that you're looking at?
So I will talk about Kamara. Obviously, you guys know I've been on the Kamara train all year, except for last week somehow when I didn't play Kamara or Tyreek, who I somehow bet on every single week in props. That was about as tilting as it gets, but it's real. I mean, and the reason I was bullish on him, early on was just recognizing that he's an elite athlete out there relative to the position, and he has a great offensive line, and he's going to get really, really good passing game work for a running back. They constantly look to him when he's matched up against the linebacker. He's going to get that often. They obviously are running the ball with him more now, and he just doesn't go down in tackles. And when he breaks a tackle, he has that explosive speed to break these long touchdowns, and that's why obviously I think we'll see some regression, but I definitely think him as a top 2-3 running back is real this year, given the offense that he's in and his talent. So I'm buying him big time. In terms of what's fake and some trends, I mean, I think it's so hard to do this stuff as you get later into the year. It really is tough. I was going to talk about the Chiefs potentially as well. I think this could be a really good spot for them against Oakland. I don't think it's fake, or I don't think it's real how bad they were for a stretch, or how good they were to start the year. That wasn't obviously real. Then how bad they were, and then last week they're obviously good again. I think they're somewhere in the middle of that range. And obviously they have players like Tyreek and Kelce who can bust big plays, and they're going to have variance. But this is a good offense, not a great or a bad one in my opinion.
Cool. All right, let's keep on moving into our first segment of the show, breaking down players. So first things first, when we're making lineups this week, who are some of the first players that we're tending to lock in? Who are some of the chalky plays that we are fine with being in our cash game core? We are recording this Wednesday morning this week, so as always, some injuries could change things. Davis, really interesting week. Might be a little difficult to find chalk outside of a running back who's probably standing out to you. But as of Wednesday morning, who are some of the guys that are standing out as probably the higher owned guys for week 14?
Well, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be like super, super owned, not only because he's got like this amazing matchup and he has like a 40% target share with Savage as the quarterback and like all of the stuff that everyone knows, but also just when you look at the context of the week, Carson Wentz is the most expensive quarterback at 7,100. This is our fourth straight week with Le'Veon Bell, and I don't think that people will be taking Todd Gurley at 8,100 at home to Philadelphia. You know, Gurley has not scored a touchdown since week 11 against Minnesota, so he's just not at the forefront of people's minds. There's not an expensive defense really to pay up for, so I just think that this is going to funnel pretty much everyone into playing Hopkins. He seems like he's pretty likely to be the highest owned player in cash games this week.
Yeah, that's especially against San Francisco, probably a sharp point. Freedman, kick to you next. Who are some of the chalky guys that are standing out to you?
Well, Davis mentioned Alex Smith earlier with that really nice matchup against the Oakland Raiders. He's someone I could see being popular at quarterback. Garoppolo is really interesting to me on the other side of that matchup, going against the Texans, who have just been so horrible against quarterbacks without Merciless and Watt. And even if we account for like the first 4 or 5 games of the season in which they were there, they're still allowing like top 2 fantasy points to the position. So really interested in Garoppolo. I think Giovanni Bernard is going to be pretty popular with Joe Mixon out. Of course, we want to monitor that concussion situation throughout the week to see what happens. Peyton Barber is someone who could also be interesting. Again, have to see what happens with Doug Martin and his injury situation. Josh Gordon going against those horrible Green Bay cornerbacks. I think there's going to be some enthusiasm for him, although I don't know if that will translate to a lot of cash game ownership. Some people might think it's too risky, but he's really interesting. And then at tight end, it's like this, as horrible as this slate is, this actually seems to be a pretty decent slate for some tight end values. So Trey Burton is really interesting with Ertz out. Steven Anderson is interesting with CJ Fedorowicz out. And then Kelsey has a great matchup against Oakland. Hunter Henry against Washington has a great matchup. And then you have Evan Ingram against the Dallas Cowboys. He has a good matchup. So all of those guys, I think, are fairly interesting at tight end.
Yeah, Pete, jump in here to close this out. Particularly interested in your thoughts on quarterback. You know, it's an interesting week where we have the Saints-Falcons on Thursday night, and then we have Brady taking on this Miami Dolphins funnel defense on Monday night. So some of these top guys don't have, amazing matchups, like particularly like Russell Wilson against the Jaguars and Cam against the Vikings. So what are your thoughts on quarterback and some other guys that are sending out as cash game options for you?
Oh, the guy that's standing out the most to me for sure is Josh Gordon. I mean, 11 targets going up against Casey Hayward. He won some where he wasn't, he won in situations where they didn't connect. Obviously, he had one of the most brutal matchups outside of maybe Patrick Peterson or Jalen Ramsey. Seeing Hayward all day is about as bad as it gets. So I think he's going to be very popular. Obviously, everyone knows the story. Everyone knows the talent, and everyone wants to be on the train when he has a huge game. So I think he'll end up being mega chalk around the industry. So right now, we were talking about it pre-pod, DeShone Kizer is ranked really high, and I do think he'll end up being pretty chalky in tournaments because so many people want to stack Josh Gordon. So I'm interested in him. I'm also interested in Tom Savage, which makes me want to throw up. But at 4,800 going into San Francisco, I don't hate the play just as a pure punt. You have other guys that are cheap that are somewhat intriguing. You could go to kind of the low to mid range and go for someone like Jimmy Garoppolo. You can pay for Blaine Gabbert, who we were talking about, Davis brought up as well. The contrarian take, I guess, would be Trevor Siemian, who I am not going to play after last week very much. But if you're going to pay up, the one guy that I'm not totally against is Alex Smith. And Alex Smith, we've seen some ceiling games, obviously, this year, last week in particular. It does feel a little points chasey, but they should do really well against Oakland. Ty Freak has absolutely owned them. Kelsey obviously has an amazing matchup. And Alex Smith, the thing that I've always said over the last couple of years that I've gotten shit for from Levitan and some of these other guys is he has sneaking rushing upside. And, I think that's a nice little floor booster and certainly could raise his ceiling. He's capable of rushing in a touchdown. He had a stretch last year where he had 3 rushing touchdowns in 3 games in a row. And I do think that at 6,500, it's not an awful price. It's not a great price, but on a week where it's really tough to find a quarterback you feel comfortable with, he makes a lot of sense.
So, Pete, the Browns are probably the worst team in the NFL. But after last week, where does Denver stand? Like neutral field, Cleveland versus Denver. What's the spread?
Probably Denver -3. I don't know. I mean, Denver, it's just terrible. I've been actually rooting for the Denver to lose for a while now. After obviously the last straw was against Cincinnati. If they won that game, they would have been live. It's pretty embarrassing considering there's 3 teams in the division that are 6-6. But at this point in the year, we want the Broncos just to lose every freaking game. Decent quarterback class, pretty good quarterback class, and they need a quarterback. I still think Simeon's a really good backup. I think Simeon is competent. Obviously, he's been turning the ball over, but he's smart. He's humble. He's going to be helpful to whoever the starter is, and I do think he's a good guy to have. But Paxton Lynch looks dead, and Brock Osweiler, who knows if he'll be in the league? So we'll see.
Yeah, it's not great. Not great at all.
Shout out Chad Kelly too. Maybe he's the guy down the road. We'll see.
All right, let's keep on moving here. Let's go to chalky fades and leverage and pivot plays. Freedman, I'll kick to you first. Who are some of the chalky players that you might be looking to pivot away from, and then who might be some leverage or pivot plays that you're considering in Week 14?
So I'm just going to totally ignore the first part of that question and leave that to some of the other guys. But some of the pivot plays that I'm interested in would be Russell Wilson versus the Jaguars, which just seems like a death matchup. But ever since the bye week, and Russell Wilson is a slow starter, everyone knows that. But since the bye week, he's been the number 1 fantasy quarterback in the league. So a lot going for him. He basically is that offense. They're starting to get some help at the running back position with the emergence of Mike Davis, which is nice and sort of amazing. I don't think anyone would have expected that out of Mike Davis, but fantastic that they're starting to become a little more balanced. But Russell Wilson is still like the guy who powers that offense. So he's interesting. This one I might catch some shit for, but whatever. LeGarrette Blount versus the Rams. I don't think anyone wants to be on Blount, but he still is getting a decent number of carries per game, even with Ajayi there in the backfield. And he's still the guy that they tend to use most near the goal line. And the Rams give it up a lot to running backs. Like, they're going to have to attack the Rams somehow, and it's best not to do that through the air. So I think that's something that I would be interested in there with Blount. And then Jordy Nelson. I can't believe I'm saying Jordy Nelson, but he's still getting targets, and he's just not getting touchdowns. So at some point that is going to have to revert. So interested in him going against the Browns, who are just horrible against the pass, and specifically McCourty. If he's going to shadow anyone, it won't be Nelson. It would be Devontae Adams. So that could funnel even a few more targets to Nelson.
Awesome. And Freedman, I do want to ask you about one situation. You wrote an article, I think it just posted actually this morning, about the Giants and McAdoo. What are your thoughts on Dallas against this Giants team and just what you might expect from the Giants moving forward?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really expect much to change for the Giants. I mean, they're still horrible. Everything is basically still the same. Like, the guy who was coaching was a non-entity, and now he's not there. So it's basically, it seems like exactly the same. They might play with that sort of dead cat bounce, of some sort of resurgence. And they seem to play the Cowboys pretty hard in general. For the Cowboys, I don't know. It's really tough for them to be functioning without Zeke and without Sean Lee. I think those two guys are so important to both sides of the ball. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a pretty nasty game.
Fair enough.
Giants are going to bounce back. This is a classic. Coach gets fired. Team is a little more fired up. They know that they're playing for their individual contracts. I actually like the Giants in this spot as a pick. Obviously, I'm terrible at picks, so don't go bet that. But I do think it's interesting. I mean, this is a classic spot where a team will bounce back. I do think that there's not a ton of fantasy goodness. I mean, you can see that with a total sitting around 41, but I would be tentative with the Cowboys relative to normal. I think the Giants will play a little bit better.
Pete, you want to inject any other pivot plays while you're at it?
Pivot plays, I mean, there's a couple guys that I'm somewhat intrigued with that I think will end up going pretty low owned. I think Philip Rivers, with his price tag where it's at, won't be that highly owned. Obviously, Keenan Allen's been going off, so if you wanted to go the stack outside of Keenan Allen with Philip Rivers, I think you can gain some leverage in that regard. You can run it back, with one of the tight ends for Washington. It's not great, but it's a weird week in that regard. So I don't mind going that direction. I think Hunter Henry is probably the best play there, but that's one kind of area I'm looking at right now as a pivot. And then if you want to get really, really crazy, this one might be too crazy, but Blake Bortles as a pivot, I mean, I think that might be too crazy, but I'd want Davis' opinion on a hot take that wretched right there.
I mean, the hot take in that game is just to play Wilson, because people won't. People will absolutely see the matchup against Jacksonville and be like, well, I can't play Russell Wilson, disregarding the fact that, like, everything Freedman said, he is the number one fantasy quarterback since their bye week. And also, the Jaguars gave up 19 DraftKings points to Blaine Gabbert, and Russell Wilson's a little better than that. Like, yes, the Jaguars are historically dominant, but note, like, in the way that the NFL functions in 2017 is that the offense pretty much always has the tactical advantage over the defense now, just the way that the rules work. And so an elite quarterback more often than not is going to like get what he needs to do. My like conscious fade though of like a semi chalky play was definitely going to be Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is in my opinion, like he is very good at the role that he's in, but Keenan Allen for his career, I believe now he has something like 12 touchdowns in like 5 seasons. Like it's just the kind of player he is not the kind of player that generates 30 fantasy points week after week. And like I think that's a pretty easy short. And then my disaster hot take is that the target volume that both Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders are going to see with how bad the Denver is, and they're just going to be behind in all these games. Like Thomas and Sanders were both terrible last week, and they saw 10 and 7 targets respectively. I would expect Sanders to see more targets with Simeon just because they're going to try and get him to complete more than 46% of his passes, which means they're going to dial up stuff closer to the line of scrimmage, which Sanders is going to be good at. And nobody. I mean, Sanders is going to like 5K Manny Sanders is going to be like 4% owned, maybe. Like, and I don't know. I just think for that volume, even regardless of Simeon's like ability, I think those guys are both pretty good leverage plays on the field.
My wife will make a Sanders team. It's the only player she likes in the NFL.
The only player.
By the way, for the props, you got to remember this. I'm going to take Bortles versus your Russell Wilson with some points there, Davis.
Okay.
All right.
I like it. All right, let's keep on moving in our segments. Let's talk about some conventional stacks. Freeman, I'll start with you.
I mean, it's hard this week. I mean, I don't know how I guess the only conventional stack I'm really interested in is Alex Smith with Kelsey and Tyreek, like that. But we've given some options for why you wouldn't want to go with Rivers or Keenan Allen. I mean, theoretically, I would be fine with that stack too, but maybe you wouldn't want to go overweight. But yeah, I think it's a subpar week, I think, for conventional stacks because there aren't a lot of conventional quarterbacks that really just sort of scream as players you absolutely want to play. So I think this week is more a week for kind of like contrarian stacks or stacks that maybe not even seem contrarian, but will be lower owned just because one of the guys in the stack will have lower ownership.
Yeah, Davis, what are your thoughts on some conventional stacks? It is tough. Some of the quarterbacks we talked about are not conventional quarterbacks like Freeman just mentioned.
We don't have Breeze. We don't have Breeze, Michael Thomas. We don't have Rodgers and Jordy. It's just not really like that. I think a conventional one that might be a mistake is Alex Smith, Tyreek Hill. I think that the convention, like the stack with Alex Smith, is always Kelsey, in my opinion, because I guess I'm kind of team more Ty Fluke than Ty Freak. Like, not that I don't think Tyreek is good and he's amazing. I just think that trying to really nail his production down and be like, well, this is the type of team he succeeds against. These are the type of routes he does well. I think that's stupid. Like, I think if you I just think if you were a guy who plays like 8 teams in like the 33, like 20 max or whatever, like I don't think either you're going all Tyreek teams or you're going no Tyreek teams. Like I don't like exposing myself to like that much volatility. And I think one that might be forgotten about this week is Case Keenum and Thielen, just because they were both like not great last week. And Thielen has seen some of like the best non-DeAndre Hopkins category volume all year long. Like his weighted opportunity ranking has been nuts in his starts all year long. So I really like that as a conventional one.
And Pete, round us out. Who are some of the conventional stacks, if any, that you're looking at in week 14?
I'm just glad I'm going to get to embarrass Davis with these props later. He comes in, cocky, talking about how he waxed us, and then he's talking smack about Tyreek. I mean,
I like Tyreek. I don't.
Oh, you don't like him? You just said you think he's Ty Fluke.
No, I just say personally for me, the way I play daily fantasy, I don't end up playing him that often. But that doesn't mean that I don't think he's good or that he's like not like a guy who can generate a crazy amount of fantasy points.
Yeah, well, it's better than me. I didn't play him last week like a total freaking donkey. My guy, Ty Freak. Yeah, I think we'll have some props there, which will be fun. Stack-wise this week, I mean, the thing is, we went through it. It's kind of a throw-up slate, so there's not many, conventional options, and pivots really won't be pivots. I think everything's kind of wide open. I think the most common stack we're going to see, like I talked about in the beginning of the pod, is Kaiser to Gordon. I think people are really going to want to play Gordon, and given Kaiser's kind of upside as a runner and with the receivers he has now, and even his recent production's been good, he'll end up being really popular. So that stack's, I guess, conventional. I've hit on some of the other ones. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on like a Jimmy Garoppolo stack. I think there's a variety of different directions you potentially could go. We saw Hyde obviously not be as effective with him as a quarterback. That seemed like a Beathard type of thing, but I'm interested in Garoppolo, especially as he gets more experience. And the one thing I noticed, he actually had a pretty high rushing equity prop this last Sunday. And I think that's going to be something that we'll see from him as well. He's a sneaky good athlete. He's a smart player. And I think we'll see him run more. And one thing about last week, obviously they kicked a bunch of field goals, but his production could have been even a little bit better, which obviously it wasn't good in terms of his fantasy production, but 293 yards right there at the bonus. There's just a couple things that I think are interesting with him. So do you guys have an opinion on Garoppolo in this spot?
I like this spot, just foreshadowing, I'm going to talk about him later, but yeah, I like this spot a lot for him. And Goodwin is, he's not a number one receiver, but he is getting targets, and somehow he still gets some targets near the goal line. So I think if you're going to stack with anyone, Goodwin is interesting, and maybe Kittle. But yeah, I think there are some options there, but definitely interested in Garoppolo.
Yeah, Goodwin's I think the most chalky of the options. Not that we're going to be super chalky, but he has the most upside, and maybe he catches a 70-yard bomb or something.
I was actually at that game. I was at the Jimmy G first start at Soldier Field, and he looked good. The problem was Hyde. Hyde was real bad, and if he can turn in even a semi-efficient performance this week, they're able to generate more first downs. With the pace that offense runs, I think Jimmy probably has the best ceiling of any of these value quarterbacks just because they run so many plays, and he has the ability to turn in 330 passing yards and 3 touchdowns.
For sure. All right, let's keep on moving here. We've probably hit on a lot of these, so we don't have to necessarily spend a long time in this segment. I'll just toss it to the group. Any advanced or contrarian stacks that we're looking at? I guess if we don't have conventional stacks on the slate, then most of these are advanced or contrarian. Anyone have one they want to throw out before we keep on moving here?
Yeah, I have a couple. And so I'm interested in McCown. And it might seem sort of like chasing points, but he has that nice matchup against the Broncos. And no one needs to talk about this stack because everyone knows it at this point, but allowing the most passing touchdowns in the league. Robbie Anderson is just crushing. So interested in that stack there, the McCown-Anderson stack. And then also Gabbert with Fitz, I would be potentially interested there.
Anyone else? Going once. Going twice. All right, let's keep on moving here. Let's get to our bold call segments. I'm going to ask each of these guys for one bold real football call and then one bold call related to DFS. Pete, why don't you kick us off?
All right, bold call DFS-wise is we all smashed Davis in these props coming up, given his massive size of smashing us. All seriousness, I'll say I'll get on the Ty Freak chasing points. It feels gross, but I'll say Ty Freak. I don't even know it's bold. Top receiver on the slate. In terms of a real-life call, I mentioned it before. I'll call the Giants winning this game against the Cowboys. They're a 4-point dog at home. Coach they hate is gone. Eli Manning's back. Ingram and Shepard are there. They win this game within the division at home.
Freedman, would you like to respond to the Dallas slander? And what are your bold calls?
It's not slander. The Cowboys suck.
They're so bad. They're so bad.
So are the Giants.
Yeah, I mean it's. Yeah, yeah. But the Giants are bad, but the Cowboys, like without Sean Lee, without Zeke, it seems horrible. They're the type of sort of like good team that loses games like this. But yeah, I mean I don't hate that at all. So I'll say for real, I'm going with and going off of the main slate, but the Ravens, I think right now 7.5 dogs on the road against the Steelers. On average, they are outperforming the spread by almost 5 points per game, and the Steelers are actually underperforming the spread by almost a point per game. The Steelers are going to be without some pretty significant players in Ryan Shazier and then the suspension with Juju. So I'm going to say that the Ravens are starting to round into form and that they get the win outright on the road. For DFS, I'm going to say Jimmy Garoppolo, 303 touchdowns on the road against the Texans, who've just, again, been absolutely horrible against the pass since Watt and Merciless went down.
All right, Davis, round us out with a couple bold calls.
Blaine Gabbert, top 5 fantasy quarterback this week. I think the pace of that offense, and I was just going through their offensive skill position players when I was writing my article earlier. It's kind of crazy how many of these guys are actually good. Like if they had David Johnson right now, Blaine Gabbert would be like being treated in seasonal fantasy like a top 10 commodity, just because it would be hard for him to not generate fantasy points. The other one, LaShawn McCoy. Is LaShawn McCoy number 1 running back of the slate? Is that bold or is that pretty chalk?
That's bold. I think anytime you say anyone is number 1, that's bold.
He seems like clearly to me like the best play, even if Peterman starts. I think at home to Indianapolis is about as good as it gets. And then I will say if Ertz is out and Burton is the starter, you're a donkey fish if you play anyone else at your tight end position on DraftKings.com.
Very fair, very fair. Yeah, Burton definitely a chalky play a couple weeks ago when Ertz is out. Probably again so this week. All right, let's keep on moving here. Let's get to our skill game propositions. Let me run through our records. Pete and I were both out last week, so I didn't count that week as far as our records go. But I'll update you where we are on the year. Pete is 119 and 109, so he's got a 10-game over 500 lead here. Freeman is struggling. He's sliding here. He's 96 and 116, so 20 games under 500. Freeman, you need to turn it around, bud. I'm 68 and 53. You guys can make fun of my volume. And then our guests are a perfect 500, 73 and 73. So all the pressure on Davis, and I know Pete is licking his chops right now. All right, so I think maybe let's move through the positions. Normally we bounce around, but I think for our listeners, it might be better if we move through the positions just so they can jump around on the pod with us. So let's start with quarterbacks. I'll throw it out to the group. Does anyone have any quarterback props that they'd like?
Well, we got the initial one. I'm taking Bortles versus Russ Wilson, which is always a strong take when you're taking Blake Bortles versus the.
How many points are you requesting?
I'm going to just go off the difference on FantasyLabs projections. Right now it's 2.1 points. We'll just do 2 points.
I will take the Russell Wilson side of that.
Yep, that's a good side to take.
Yeah,
I was hoping the projections were a little different there, but yeah.
Yeah, 2 points Wilson versus Bortles. This is interesting, huh?
One quarterback I forgot to
going
mention.
with Wilson. I'll go Wilson there.
I'll take Wilson as well.
All right, boys. That's
good bet, Pete.
That was Bortles leverage.
Yeah, that was good enough even to get Bryan into the action. Right?
I know. It's never a good sign when Bryan hops in. It's not. You're never like, oh, I made a good one there. When Bryan, I'm good on that one.
This, by the way, is the same thing that happened last time. Was you just gave me like 4 really soft lines because you just wanted some action?
I Davis, of course. I'm a sick degenerate. I don't want action. One guy we forgot to mention, or at least we didn't talk much about, is Brett Hundley. If we're on the narrative of the troll season, Brett Hundley was pretty chalky in cash games last week. Now, obviously facing Cleveland, a pretty good matchup. His price tag is elevated, but no one is going to be on Hundley this week, and you can stack him up and bring Josh Gordon back. And if you're playing the last week's cash game bust, next week's tournament winner strategy, which you'd probably be on an island right now, like the Bros, that would be the leader in the clubhouse for me there. So I'd do a prop on Hundley if you guys want. Then I guess I don't know where people stand on like Alex Smith and Kaiser and Garoppolo. I know Freedman obviously made a bold call there with Garoppolo. So those would be the quarterbacks I'd be interested in.
I'll take the under on Hundley if you want to take the over.
16.2. All right, done and done. DraftKings points, obviously.
Freedman, would you like to do Gabbert versus Garoppolo?
Yeah. What do we have as the point difference here? We have Gabbert at 17.4 and we have Garoppolo at 18.4. Sweet. Yeah, a point difference. I'll do that.
Okay. God, that's good. I feel good about that.
You have which side?
I mean, I like Gabbert too, but I'll take Garoppolo.
Yeah, I have the Gabbert side.
Side. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep firing the volume, Freedman. It's the only way out, buddy.
That's also the only way further down.
You know who else we didn't talk about? We'll get to the receiver. Never mind. I'll take Kaiser versus someone. You want to do Kaiser? You want to give me
Kaiser Gabbert?
Give me a point, Davis. Since I was so generous with the other one before, give me a point.
No, I don't want to be on the other side of Kaiser.
Fuck.
I'll take the other side of Kaiser.
I was trying to get a point out of Davis. I can't do that to you, Freedman.
I don't care. Volume.
All right, I'll take it.
Yeah, I have no pressure. I can choose to only get it in good.
Don't pull a Bryan over here, buddy. No one likes the lack of volume, and then just like.
No, I think I have a good one when we get to wide receivers.
What is this bet that you guys just did? Kaiser versus who?
So I tell you what, Pete, you want Kaiser? I'll take I'll do some hedging here. I'll take Gabbert. We have them separated by like 0.2 points.
Fine, that's fine. I'll give it to you straight up.
Okay.
Bryan, throw something out there, dude.
Quarterback wise?
Yeah.
All right. You guys want to do a draft or something?
Nah, we've hit a lot of them already.
Yeah, I don't have like super strong takes on some of these other guys that we haven't touched. I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on this like Tampa Bay Detroit game?
A lot of it hinges on Stafford.
Right. I don't think he's going to play. How can a quarterback play with a like busted hand?
Yeah, and we don't know yet. But yeah, it's super tentative. But Jake Rudock is someone who's mildly interesting. And I don't want to be all like team preseason, but like the connection he has with Galladay, at least during the preseason, that was interesting. So I don't know, and a really nice matchup against Tampa Bay, which is a bottom 3 team in past DVOA. So I don't know, it would be interesting, but who knows with Stafford in that hand.
Yeah. No Vegas line on that game as of yet. So
Jake Rudock, for those who don't know, he's basically CJ Beathard. They're for our purposes, they're basically the same guy
with 3 much better wide receivers.
Fair.
All right, let's move on to running back then. What are your guys' thoughts on some props here?
I mean, I would like to get LaShawn McCoy versus whoever these guys think is the best play.
You would want to do that just straight up?
I mean, with whatever the points are on Labs, or we could just do it straight up depending on what the points are.
I tell you what. Actually, right now on Labs we have McCoy for 18.9 and Gurley for 19. So pretty just identical, basically. I'll take Gurley if you want McCoy.
Yeah, and let's just do it straight up.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's pile on Davis here. I'll take Gurley versus McCoy, even though I think obviously it's close.
Yeah.
I think the difference is Gurley has a little more. We have him with a higher ceiling projection.
Well, Gurley's got way more TD equity, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Tyrod missing, or it looks like he's going to miss. I saw him miss practice. I think hurt McCoy a little bit too.
9 dump offs for McCoy. DK gold.
All right, I like the call. Running backs that I'm interested in firing here. It's tough. This is another position that's just kind of a gross spot overall.
Hey Pete, 1 second. I want to get another one in here with Davis.
No, go for it, buddy.
Hey, Davis, will you give me 3 points if I take Kareem Hunt versus McCoy?
I mean, I have to. Given how I started the show, I have to. I do want to make it very clear, though. Like, Hunt could absolutely have 2 85-yard touchdowns against this awful Raiders defense. He just won't be in my lineups while he does it.
I want that one on Freedman's side.
Yeah, okay. I should have started. I should have asked for 4 points.
I would have given it, but it's too late now. We're booked at 3.
Yeah, three's good. I think 3's fair. Sorry, Pete. Go ahead.
No, I mean it's a throw up spot here. I mean, we got guys like Theo Riddick and Peyton Barber at the top of the model right now, and Giovanni Bernard and the speculation that Mixon would miss with a concussion. I mean,
can I get Seattle Mike Davis versus someone else's favorite value running back, a non-Gio Bernard division?
I
like Mike Davis.
That's tough.
He's pretty sneaky. I think. I don't think he will be very chalky, and I think he's like borderline cash playable even. I think.
He's gonna catch balls too, which would be great.
So McKissick, Lacey, and Rawls combined only played 15 offensive snaps last week. Like he just pushed them all to the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on him the first week when he hurt his groin, devastating in the primetime slates, just pure devastation. Yeah, I like him, especially since I'm shorting Russell Wilson. I'm hoping that Mike Davis is the offense, and that is like the only way to attack the Jaguars. It's either going to be Russell Wilson running or Mike Davis doing something.
Does anyone want Mike Davis versus Kerwin Williams, maybe?
No.
No, it's tough. Let me see here. I would do – I mean, it's not great now. I can't
Pete, you're all over the Giants. Take Darkwa.
Oh, no.
So you guys prefer
running backs is like as gross as I can ever remember it.
It's
honestly.
real bad.
I'll do Latavius against Mike Davis if you want. Like straight like we have Latavius projected for 11 points, Mike Davis for 11.2.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I don't feel as good about it just because Latavius could fat flop his way into 2 touchdowns, but
yeah.
So where do you guys stand on Barber versus Davis?
I'm not interested in playing Barber. Like, I know he did really well last week, but it would not be the first time we've seen like a complete backfield shift for the Bucs without any real reason, and even with positive coach speak coming for Barber. Like, it's just they do this with running backs all the time.
I mean, I think he's risky in cash, but I think it was a pretty impressive performance. Like, I mean, you can't put anything past them, but like I think it would be really stupid for them not to give him another shot, especially if Doug Martin is out. And I think Martin is still in the concussion protocol right now as we're recording. So I don't know. I guess I'll take a shot on Barber if you want to fade him, Davis. Right now we have him at 12.2. Would you want to do the under?
Or you can do Barber versus Davis.
Well, I mean, I guess that's yeah, I will. I don't feel good about the under on that necessarily, but I'll take it. I'm not crazy about it. I just know like I would not play Barber, but I like see a route to him being successful. I just think there's a lot of questions about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, do you want to do Barber versus Davis?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, I'll take Barber. Yeah, Davis.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll take Davis there. There's a little hedge. I'll take Davis for Freedman.
All right.
I think you're probably getting a little bit of equity there. Running back is just gross. I mean, like, are we going to be paying up for Melvin Gordon this week?
Yes, people are going to be paying up for Melvin Gordon this week.
What was frustrating last week was Duke Johnson. I mean, I don't get why they didn't give him the ball more early in the game. I mean, he made some ridiculous plays. Obviously, not a huge fantasy game by any stretch, 3 points, but had a play called back. I don't know why they don't want to get him the ball earlier in the game. It's just like, all right, we're in contention right now. It's Isaiah Crowell, and now we're down, and now it's Duke Johnson. Like, I don't understand why they don't mix it up more. I guess it's probably his equity and all those guys goes down with Gordon being available, or Gordon playing, and Coleman being on the field now. One other guy that I guess I'll throw out there is I'll take Lamar Miller versus someone. He's at 12.8, so if you want the Peyton Barber, or I don't know who else would be in that range. But
no, I actually think
Miller.
This could be Miller's like best game of the year, I think.
Yeah, it's a great spot for him. He historically with the Texans has done pretty well as a home favorite, and then he has a great matchup against the 49ers who just give it up to running backs. It's a really good spot for him.
It's like crazy how bad he is, though. Like it's kind of he's like kind of one of those guys you're like just astonished like with the level of work he's gotten over this time frame, like how not good he is.
Yeah, well, I mean, no Dante Foreman, and then at this point, Alfred Blue also has the concussion, so he just has to be the guy. I'm slightly interested in Frank Gore, not because I think he's great or anything, but it's a really nice matchup going against Buffalo, who's pretty vulnerable to running backs. Let me see. We have him at 9.1. I think it might be a little high. I'll take the over on that if anyone wants the under.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I mean,
under.
I don't think that's. I think we're probably over projecting him there, but whatever. I mentioned it. I'll take him. I think let's shift to wide receivers.
That's a future position.
Yeah.
Marlon Mack, though, there's an interesting leverage play.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Didn't some of you guys say that you had some wide receiver ones queued up?
Does anyone want Keenan Allen versus Hopkins?
Not really.
Or AJ Green or whoever?
I think those are all fairly similar. Go ahead, Pete.
I'll take Tyreek plus 6 points versus Hopkins.
No way. Plus 6 is insane.
We have it at like 4 point something. I was just trying. How about 5? You call him Ty Fluke, bro. Come on.
I didn't call him Ty Fluke per se. I said I was more in the Ty Fluke than Ty Freak camp, which is true.
He's either going to have like a great game or not a good game.
That's the thing. That's why it being 4 points is stupid, because either Hopkins beats him by 12 or he loses by like
Why does it matter? I mean, give me 5 then.
I will give you 4.
That's less than the dude. He's projected for. We have him right now. We have Hopkins at 19.5 and Tyreek at 15.2. You're talking smack about my guy. I will give you
4.5.
All right, fine.
I don't feel great about that one because they're literally the exact opposite player. Like Hopkins just gets 18 every week and Tyreek gets you 6 or 30.
All right. We didn't talk about Amari Cooper, guys. You guys thoughts there?
Yeah.
Is he healthy?
I mean, I don't know.
That's the big question. I mean, we already have the Crabtree Cooper one
and the Cooper Cup
already teed up. Yeah. I mean, if Cooper can't go, so if Cooper can play, I think he's interesting given the matchup. If he can't play, I think Crabtree becomes super interesting with the matchup.
No, CP becomes really interesting given the matchup. I was like this close before all the running back stuff last week happened. I was this close to Patterson and Cash. Like it was going to happen.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll do a Crabtree. We have him right now at 15. I'll take the over if anyone wants the under.
I mean, I'll have the exposure already with Cooper, who I just was reading something. They cut their defensive tackle, Darius Latham, instead of their rookie receiver, Isaac Whitney, who was looking like he was going to get cut, especially since they have Crabtree back already. So that indicates to me that there's a good chance Cooper misses.
Yeah.
probably good for me.
Yeah, I think he probably will miss. So
Probably good for you.
Okay. Anyway, let's. So, Davis, you wanted to take the downside on Keenan. I'll take the over. We have him at 19. If you want to take the under, or
my pleasure.
Okay.
Is that really Keenan Allen's projection? That's nuts, man.
19.
That just feels so high. I guess he has just been absolutely smashing, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's the target volume, and the fact that, like, he is getting targets that are pretty easy to turn into receptions.
Yeah, I mean, his last 3 games have been insane.
All right, let's talk about Josh Gordon. I mean,
I want the over.
Yeah, I think everyone
wants the over. Yeah,
that's what's going to happen this week. Josh Gordon's going to be like 35% owned.
How many points difference do you guys have Coleman versus Gordon?
That's a good question. Right now we have Gordon at 14.9 and
Coleman at 9.7.
I will take
5 points.
I will take Coleman plus 5.
I would take Coleman plus 5 as well. Anyone want to be?
I'll take Gordon.
Attaboy, Freedman. Get the volume. The only way to get even, buddy.
I like Coleman a lot, but I love Gordon. So
I mean, I love Josh. I love Gordon too, but there's no way that they can have that great of a They should have that great of a difference in their projection.
All right, so we have Josh Gordon is 5'5". What's how high up do you have to go to take a guy over him? So like Dez is 5'9". You keep on going up.
I have a good one. I'll take Gordon versus Crabtree if you want that, Freedman.
I think they're projected for almost the same thing.
Who do you want?
Gordon.
Come on. I obviously want Gordon too.
You just said you wanted the over on the projection on Crabtree, and he's projected 0.1 more than Gordon.
Yeah, but I like Gordon so much more.
Gordon is going to be, like, in a week where it's just a throw-up slate, and then you have Josh Gordon, he's going to be the mega chalk.
Like crazy chalk.
Yeah, like Crabtree's like 1,200 more expensive. Like, would you take Marvin Jones straight up over Gordon? Mike Evans?
I will take Alshon versus Josh Gordon if anyone wants to offer that.
I will do that.
I'll take Josh Gordon.
I'll take Josh Gordon too.
So, like, Pete, like, how far would you take Mike Evans over Josh Gordon?
Yeah. Hold on 1 second, guys. I will be right back in 20 seconds. But yes, I would not take Mike Evans. I'm all in on Josh Gordon.
Yeah, the thing is we can't reasonably adjust the production. I mean, the projection much higher than where it is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, given what we saw last week in the target volume, and then given the salary, and then the matchup, I mean, people are going to be all over him. You know.
Yeah. Because you guys are saying you might take him over some of these top 5 wide receivers in the slate, and he's 55. So I think that speaks to how chalky he's going to be.
I mean, let's say like Josh Gordon versus Tyreek. I wonder if Pete would have any interest in.
I'll take Tyreek versus Gordon.
Okay, I'll do Gordon.
Just straight up.
Yeah.
See, that's so crazy. I mean, I'm not saying.
That's true though. Like, I don't feel good about it. I mean, the thing is, both of them have such massive ceilings.
Yeah.
But Gordon's just.
Like, we have Gordon projected for 14.9, and we have Tyreek projected for 15.2. Like, I'm probably giving a little bit of equity there, but, like, really not that much equity.
I don't think so, because when you're doing a heads-up thing and you have someone like Tyreek who's so high variance, like, his median score is so much lower than his mean score, because his mean score is so inflated by those ceiling games. Obviously, Josh Gordon is probably going to be somewhat like that, but the way he got fed last week, 11 targets versus one of the best corners in the game. He's getting those 9-yard slants. They're using him as a possession receiver as well as a down-the-field threat. He just seems to have a much higher floor. So I think it's actually really close.
Yeah, I mean, and we have it projected close. One thing to keep in mind is that these projections are for the median and not the mean.
Right.
So it's, I get what you're saying there.
Yeah. All right, any last wide receiver ones, or we can keep on moving, do tight end defense, get out of here?
Brian, you got to throw one out there, buddy.
No, I got one more that I want. I haven't mentioned him at all, but I would like to get Josh Doxson versus someone else's favorite value wide receiver.
Josh Doxson, huh?
I believe that like a 12 target, 111 yard touchdown game is in the cards for Doxson before 2017 ends.
I'll take Corey Coleman, who's 100 cheaper.
I guess I get it in both ways. Like those guys are both great plays to me.
Yeah, Coleman's the obvious one.
I'll give you two of them just to kind of.
I'll go Deshaun Jackson and Coleman's. Both of those.
I'll give you two, Davis, just to give you some action, so you're more leveraged on it. I want Corey Coleman and I want D.D. Westbrook.
Oh, Pete Westbrook is gonna make someone a millionaire this weekend. I think he's like so incredibly sneaky. Like those are the exact guys that have destroyed Seattle for 5 years now. But I mean, I will take it. But I just wanted on the record that D.D. Westbrook could potentially win someone $1 million this weekend.
Yeah, with Blake Bortles as a quarterback, and you're staring at the next.
I mean, the Bortles Westbrook stack is clearly the nuts. Like that's how you win.
Did you guys have Westbrook in college DFS, or was he too late?
He was too late
because he transferred in from JUCO.
So sad.
Speaking of which, Mike Davis was like one of the most like heartbreakingly like annoying SEC running backs in college football daily fantasy back in the day. So it's very surprising to me that he's good in the NFL.
Yeah.
At least you have the college football goat and Doxson. I mean, how good were the days where you just fire up Boykin and Doxson and just print the cash?
Oh, so legendary. Doxson, I think this is going to be the he arrived game. That's the official prediction.
Tough matchup, but yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I'll take Pete's side on those two props offered. And if you even want to like get some more action on this, like if you want the over, we have 9.4 is the projection right now. I'll take the under.
Sure, I'll take the over.
Okay.
Love it, Davis. All in leverage, baby.
It's just like I'm not gonna shy away. And whatever, if I go 0 for 37, it happens.
It's a lot of Coors Light. Hey, one more on this. Robbie Anderson going against the Broncos. We have him projected for 13.4 points. Pete, just go ahead and take the under there, and I'll take the over.
Say which one again there, Freedman?
I'll take the over. You take the under. Robbie Anderson against the Broncos.
Sure, done.
All right.
I'll take the Anderson side as well if Pete wants to offer it against me.
I mean, I have to. I mean, I don't know how much more money I can lose with the Broncos.
Huge Robbie Anderson fan. I am. Love that guy. Yeah. He's like the air yards goat.
Yeah. Alrighty. You guys want to hit some tight ends?
Yes.
All right.
There's so many good options for this slate.
2 tight end week, boys. 2 tight end week.
It actually in cash, that's a very real thing because I think Kelsey is the best 7K play regardless of position. So I think it makes sense to use like Burton and Kelsey or whatever.
Yeah. That's a good point. He might be. Yeah, that's a very good point. Pete, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I want Kelsey, but so does everyone else. I like Evan Ingram. What about Evan Ingram versus someone or Evan Ingram? I'll take the over on his prop.
What do you guys have for Vernon Davis versus Evan Ingram?
That's interesting.
9.3 versus 11.5. 2 points, Davis?
No. I was thinking Vernon Davis was going to be getting a disastrously low projection.
You want plus 2.5?
No, not that interested. I was looking to game the system there. The system wasn't working with me.
Okay.
What about Cameron Brate?
Yeah,
9.1. Yeah.
I was just saying 2.5 points. You want 2.5 points with Brate versus Ingram?
Yes.
Okay, done all day.
Davis, who you're taking there?
Cameron Brate.
I'll take the Brate side.
The Brate Winston splits are like incredibly real.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they are real for sure. Anyone think Doyle rules this week?
No, I think that the Colts collectively have realized that like running their offense through a tight end that runs a 4.8 40 was not the sharpest way to generate points.
I don't think they're trying to run their offense. I just think that Brissett's just like, oh shit, I have no one to throw to. Where's Doyle? That was It's like, oh, look, hopefully Hilton's wide open down the field, and if not, check it down to Doyle.
Yeah, I kind of can't believe this, but we have Doyle projected for 11.7 and Ingram for 11.5.
Yeah, I like the Ingram side, obviously, there.
Yeah, definitely.
Do we want to do something with like all these like real cheap tight ends?
Let's do a draft.
Let's
do a draft.
Who wants to be the Brian? Get some volume in there. You're gonna go against all of us here.
All right, that's fine.
We're forcing Brian into some volume here.
All right, what do you guys want to do? You want to do a 1, 2, 3, 4, or?
Let's do. I think since Kelsey's such a strong pick, we'll do 1 and then 3 guys and then 5, 6. How about that? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that's fair.
You can choose your side of who you want, and it's high scoring tight end. Are we doing all slates, or are we just doing the main?
Main slate.
Main slate.
Okay.
All right.
So Brian, you're the market maker here, so everyone gets to choose. Davis, you can go first since you're the guest. You want the first pick, or do you want 2, 3, 4 at tight end?
I would like the first pick.
Okay.
All right.
And I would like to take Travis Kelce.
It's highest scoring overall player, by the way. That's who wins. Just whoever scores the most points.
I would also like to take Travis Kelce in that scenario.
That's fair. That is fair. All right, I'm gonna do Ingram. We're assuming Ertz is not playing, right?
The last time he had a concussion in 2015, he missed the next game.
Yeah, we can assume. Although you could take him and hope that he plays and that you get the guy with number 1 upside.
No.
Do we want to do this? Do we want to say if you take Ertz, you get Burton, or if you take Delaney Walk? I don't even know who the backup 10 is for
Johnny Smith.
Oh yeah,
former FAU goat.
Yeah.
Nah, we can ignore them, I think.
Okay.
I'll go Ingram, Brates, and Hunter Henry.
2 more for you, Davis.
I will take Steven Anderson and did he just get taken or
No. I just that's strong.
He played wide receiver last week, dude.
I know 12 targets. I know.
Yeah. I will take him and I will take Kittle.
Okay. Stacking the game. That one interesting. All right, Freedman. Which side do you want? You want Kelsey?
Pete, why don't you go?
You want to see what I do? I'll take the 1 pick. Yeah, I want to get some leverage versus Brian so we can bring him down a little bit. We gotta get that record just closer to 500 so we have a chance down the stretch here. Yeah, I'll go first. I'll take Travis Kelce. You want the same guys, Brian?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, get some leverage out there, buddy. Like
sure.
it.
Yeah.
You took Henry, is that right?
I did.
Bummer. Okay, I will take Anderson call is interesting. I wasn't considering him initially.
He's like a potential GPP smash with everyone on Burton.
Anderson and D.D. Westbrook winning millions.
The problem is there's no one to spend on this week.
It's true.
I'm just looking for something.
It would just be more contrarian.
Yeah. Davis going to go those 2 guys, and Josh Gordon just leave $3K on the table.
I'll take Kyle Rudolph, and I'll jump on with Davis. The Steven Anderson take maybe is right. I'll take Steven Anderson.
All right.
What is the most salary that has ever been left on the table and won a Millie Maker?
It's a great question. Do not know the answer.
Brian has to know the answer. He's got to have that data somewhere in the FantasyLabs mind.
I could probably find it at some point.
That is a great question, and we should definitely have like an article on that.
There should definitely be a labyrinthian about that for sure.
That's a great question.
There's a good article, leaving salary on the table, the onslaughts, like all these kind of weird.
Here's the thing: you could never do the salary left on the table thing like weeks 1 through 10, just because there's not enough injuries and weirdness. But towards the end of the year, when we're talking about Blaine Gabbert and Mike Davis and Steven Anderson and D.D. Westbrook, the guys who are doing the pricing, they're not every single player in the player pool is going to receive accurate pricing in week 14.
Right.
Yeah.
Freedman, which side do you want?
You know what? I'm gonna make you go number one.
Okay, I'll take Kelsey.
Okay. I'm going to do Hunter Henry. 1 second. All right. Hunter Henry, Ingram, and Jimmy Graham.
All right. I will go Brait and let's see here. Yeah, this is tough. This side is tough. I'll do Brait and Rudolph.
Like it.
Cool.
You guys want to just grab some defense real quick and we'll get out of here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Davis, do you want to be the market maker here, or do you want to pick one of us to be the market maker?
I'll pick someone else because I think I have a really interesting take, though.
Okay. Pick someone. Who do you want to be the market maker here?
If I pick Bryan, does that mean he has to get more action in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I will pick Bryan.
Oh, dear God.
Yahtzee. Look at how red Bryan is. This is perfect.
Dear God. All right.
You can't sit on that record forever over there, Bryan. We see you. We see you sitting on that.
And you have to do it with defenses, which is just like, who knows? So really good spot for you.
Right. All right. Freedman, do you want to? You guys just want to do 1, 2, 3, 4?
Sure, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
All right, Freedman, which side do you want?
I will do. I'll do 1.
All right.
Okay. Actually, no. I'll do 2, 3. I'll do 2 and 3.
You want 2 and 3?
Yeah.
God, defense is so weird this week. Man.
Defense is really weird this week, which is why you just got to play the good defenses against good offenses.
Yeah. I'll go the Chargers.
Okay. I will do Cincinnati, and I will do 1 second here. You do Chargers. Okay, I'll do Cincinnati and Kansas City.
Okay. Man, so we still have the –
Actually, why did I just say Kansas City like a freaking moron? Yeah, this is horrible. Buffalo.
Green Bay's the top of a lot of our models right now, but I think we're pretty high on these wide receivers. So I'm going to go with the Jets versus Denver.
Okay, I want to go. Bryan, you can take first pick again.
Smart. Horrible.
Yeah, first pick is not good. Chargers. Why not?
What happened there? You guys didn't take the Jaguars? Like, what the frick is going on?
Yeah, that's my take.
It's egregious. Like, I think the Jaguars are far and away the number 1 pick.
Well, they're discounted $1,000, and Russell Wilson can score 30 fantasy points and
all the time.
Yeah,
this is crazy to me. Give me the Jags all day. I think they're the clear number 1, and I'll take the next pick is a little tougher. I'll take Cincinnati.
All right. Let's go with the Jets again.
Sorry if I just mushed you there, Davis.
That's like
I mushed you, but give my analysis there that might get Bryan to reconsider taking Jacksonville. Freedman and Bryan left Jacksonville on the table there.
That was the first thing I noticed about pricing this week was that Jacksonville's been like 4,500 for the last month, and now they're 3,500.
Wilson takes sacks.
You think they're way above the Chargers?
I mean, not way above the Chargers, but I think they're the clear number 1. I mean, the Chargers and Jacksonville have been the best defenses by far all year. They have great pass rush and great corners. That's the recipe. Sacks and
yeah.
Well,
I love the Jags for sure. I think I might slightly prefer the Chargers this week.
I think that's. I mean, when you take a look, obviously we have them rated higher in models, but raw projection we still have Jacksonville.
It was my donkey move not to take the Jags. I just didn't want to go against Russell Wilson. I was.
But Russell, I get he scores points, but and I think this is a fallacy that a lot of people have that Bales has talked about. I mean, your defense can still go ham even if its team puts up points. Yeah.
Let's say the actual scoring category is so low on the list of things that you get DraftKings defense points for.
It's all about sacks. Here's what it comes down to. It comes down to what teams can get pressure on the quarterback because that leads to all the stats that matter: sacks, fumbles, picks. That's literally the whole deal. And then obviously there's some special teams goodness, which is why Ty Freak in Kansas City wouldn't have been the worst idea.
I hear you. Yeah, I mean, I like the Jags. I'm not going to slander the Jags at all. Davis, which pick do you want?
First pick.
All right. Take the Jags?
I will take the Jags.
All right. I will take the Chargers, and I will take the Jets. I guess these are just my teams.
I will take. Do I get another pick?
Yeah.
Okay. I will take the Rams. That's the same thing as the Jaguars, just on a lower scale. They're not quite as fearsome. They're not quite as scary as the Jags, but they're a defense that should pretty much always be 3.2. And there's something weird about the Rams that they do in the DK algorithm. When they face even a slightly decent quarterback, they go down to 2,400.
Yeah, I like them for GPPs. Obviously Wentz and the Eagles have been awesome all year, but the Peters injury is just was a massive blow that I think will prove to be a big hit more and more as they face tougher teams. So I like that call, Davis.
I was going to say one thing that's interesting. We haven't mentioned, this is the first time we've mentioned Wentz on the whole podcast, which is pretty telling. He's going to have super low ownership, I think, in part because of the matchup, and then also because he's coming off this horrific outing against Seattle. And the fact that a guy who has over 300 yards passing and a touchdown against Seattle in Seattle, and that's thought of as a horrible outing, that's pretty good for a bad outing.
It's child's play compared to what Bortles is going to do against him, right, Pete?
That's what I'm talking about. If there is a draft right now, a real draft, I think Carson Wentz would be the number one pick.
No.
It might be Russ Wilson, but I think if there's a real draft right now for your franchise going forward, I think Wentz.
How old is Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, he's obviously the best quarterback right now, but another collarbone injury.
I can't remember. I honestly have no conception of how old he is.
He's 34.
34. So no, he's not the first pick.
Yeah, he's not. He kind of feels.
I guess you could argue that because Tom Brady's playing till he's 50 apparently, and if you start extrapolating how long Aaron Rodgers possibly could play, but it has to be. I mean, I think it would be Wentz. I think non-quarterbacks you'd have guys like Donald and Jalen Ramsey, but.
Russ would definitely go ahead of Wentz. If you got 32 GMs together and you had them do this exercise, they would take Russ.
Wilson is 5 years older than Wentz.
He's 29. I just think especially with the way the NFL is set up, it's pretty easy to keep these players. I think Wentz with his age, I really think he'd be the number one pick. But I think Wilson and Rodgers would be up there. I think Goff is really trending now.
Goff is good. My donkey friend, your donkey friend, our donkey friend Kyle Cannon can't admit he's good to this day. Just won't admit that Jared Goff is good.
Cannon being stubborn? That doesn't sound like Kyle.
Never.
One more take here. In this little exercise, whoever drafts Tom Brady would win more championships than anyone thinks. No. Brady would be the steal of the draft. He would go way too low.
Yeah, you get to draft Tom Brady with Bill Belichick together.
How long is Brady realistically going to play?
It looks like a long time.
Pete, how many years more is Luck going to play before I get paid out on our prop?
What am I going to owe
bet?
you on that, by the way? I owe you dinner.
I don't know. I honestly don't even remember the exact terms of it.
First of all, I already owe you something.
You owe me a round of golf for the Lux.
Right, so I'll buy out right now, Davis. I still want Luck. Well, we'll figure something out. But what I owe you right now with the semi buyout, we'll renegotiate terms, is a nice dinner and a round of golf.
Booked.
All right, and we'll come up with something else. If Andrew Luck can ever get on the field, I'm petrified. And I still think Andrew Luck is awesome. I just blame the Colts front office for doing an egregious job. That's sad. He's not.
It has now gotten to the point where I do feel kind of bad for him. At first I was just like, I took a lot of joy in when he would play really bad in the playoffs, but now I kind of just feel sad for him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting in that draft discussion where he would fall. I mean, this shoulder injury could be real bad. But
all right. Okay, we will end it there. Thank you guys for listening or watching, and thanks to Davis for coming on the podcast. You can find him on Twitter at Davis Mattek. Really appreciate it, Davis.
Thanks for having me, guys. A lot of fun. Hope I can even run at like 30% on all these prop bets. I really need Josh Doxson to get
don't backpedal now, Davis. You came in cocky. You can't.
No, listen. If Doxson has the game, I think that he has. Like, it's going to be a smash because I got by far the most in on that.
All right. I like it. When you see Davis win $1 million, leaving $4K on the table, you heard it here first.
Bortles Westbrook.
That's right. All right. Thank you guys for listening. As always, good luck in week 14, and we'll talk to you guys next week.